What's up, everybody? Hey, is Jesse here? Where's Jesse? Hey. Dangerous, guys. It's a thing. Remember that.
Here we are, nearly at the end of your first OzComicCon weekend.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm surviving. I gotta tell you, mostly everybody who I've talked to has done a great job of freaking me out about the rest of the time I'm going to spend in Australia. So I knew about crocodiles and I knew about sharks, and then I learned about the spiders and the snakes. But now I've learned that there's actually trees that can sting you, and I don't know what's safe anymore.
Yeah,
so I'm nervous.
Nothing is safe.
Yeah, but you guys all made it, so
Yeah,
kudos to you all for surviving.
These guys have lots of questions. You happy to jump straight in?
Sure.
Where's my microphone? We're starting just there.
Hey Tim,
Hey,
now that you're a published author, and
I like this question already.
okay, now that you're a published author, did that give you a little more opportunity to possibly have a little effect on the input for season 3?
I would like to hope so. I'm very fortunate in the fact that we have a showrunner like Emily Andrus who is actually open to our ideas. Just before coming out here, I actually received a group email, and it was most of the cast from Emily, saying, "Listen, guys, I'm in the writing room. We're about to start. I'm getting super excited. Feel free, shoot me your ideas about where you'd like to see your character go for season 3." This is something that never happens on other shows. So right away, right there, I'm very fortunate that I'm on a show where we have a showrunner who opens that door. But I do know from season 1 that our ideas are taken because some of mine made it to season 1. So I would love to see some of them come to fruition. I hope that's the word. For season 3, that'd be great. I have lots of ideas. If you want my theories, I'll tell you guys, but they could become spoilers. So, who knows?
Yes, in the middle.
I was just wondering whether this was your first convention, and if not, how many of them would you go to each year, or would like to go to?
No, this is not my first convention. I kind of said yesterday, I used to come to these conventions as a fan with my backpack and kind of fill it up with comic books and meet all the people I wanted to meet. And so now I'm on the other side. So I've done quite a few now. From San Diego to Dragon Con to now Australia Con, and it's pretty crazy that I get to now travel the world doing these conventions, and I love it. We actually just had our very first ever ERPERCon, which was a Winona Earp convention in London, England, and that was a really, really special experience for me. So I do know any type of con that would be just ERPER related, I wouldn't miss for a second, because there's something super special about having that fandom together in a room together. They're really special people, so I don't think I would miss any type of ERPERCon anywhere.
Next question.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Welcome to Australia, obviously. My question is, you said before that you could have a lot of influence on season 3. Where would you like to see your character go?
That's a great question. Season 1, it was so simple. My character, he was just hell bent on revenge. That's everything I played in season 1. That was my motive. Even with Winona or Bobo or all my relationships, it was pretty simple. It was about revenge. I just wanted revenge against the witch, and then I got it. Actually, Winona got my revenge for me, if you think about it. But and then season 2 was kind of like, well, what's he sticking around for? And then, without giving too many spoilers, and I know some people are behind, I won't, but there's a really big reason he's going to stick around now. So the interesting thing for me for season 3 will be why he sticks around, if it's for his own reasons or Winona reasons, or plus, without giving too many spoilers, I'm more vulnerable than I've ever been. Missing a certain piece of jewelry that seems to, I'm trying to be spoiler free, but so he's going to deal with that vulnerability. I don't think Doc is going to deal well with being weak. So I think he's going to be a bit of a baby for a while and pretty selfish and try and find some way to regain his power.
So I think before
Oh God,
we go
here
to the
comes the
next
Vegemite.
question, Tim made a bit of a mistake last night at his dinner by committing to eating Vegemite toast during his panel.
Alright, I'm going to tell you the one thing I've learned about Australia so far. You guys are split 50-50 down the middle on Vegemite good or Vegemite bad. So how many people are Vegemite good? And Vegemite bad? There we go. But the one thing everybody did agree on is it needs to be toast, butter, and just a little bit of Vegemite, right? Alright, here we go. What's the song with the Vegemite sandwich?
I don't remember how that goes.
Background number. Yes, what is Vegemite?
It's like fermented paste made from yeast.
Behind the B vitamins. I know.
Okay, guys, so just tell me exactly how much Vegemite now I'm supposed to. Did I put enough butter on this toast?
Butter is probably fine.
Alright.
Thing is, you can put a little bit on. You can always add more if you really want to. But if you go crazy, you can't really take it off. Don't smell it.
That too much?
Oh, you'll be alright.
More?
No, stop with this. No. No. That's not thin. Okay. I mean, you're like into food. You co-own a restaurant. Like, surely you should be used to trying lots of different things. I mean, you went back for a second bite, so that's gotta be a good sign, right?
Vegemite, very good. Yep. I mean, it's weird. It's really weird. But pretty good.
Huh, I think you're probably the first person on stage to not despise it.
No, it's good.
With cheese, yeah, now you can experiment with cheese, with avocado.
Yes, I
Go
will.
nuts, go nuts. Yes, another question down the run.
Yeah, I was just wondering that now you've co-written with both the Winona comics. Is there any other creators or any other comics that you'd love to help write?
Yeah, thanks. That's an awesome question. At San Diego Comic-Con this year, I got to meet Gail Simone, who's been a big hero of mine also, and she does a lot of Wonder Woman stuff, so if I could ever get to be a part of Wonder Woman, that would be really awesome. But pretty much, there's like I'm such a comic book fan that there wouldn't be too many that I wouldn't want to get my own take on in some way or whatever. It's just the best part about comic book writing is to be just to be so free in creating the ideas, because there's no limit. If I can think it, they can draw it. You know, whereas in a production or something, we can't, I can't fly everybody to space. It costs $1 million, and then we got to figure out special effects and all that stuff. But in a comic book, if we all wanted to go to space and eat Vegemite, we're in space eating Vegemite. So it's kind of like, I love the freedom of just being able to explore. And there's like so many characters that I would like to take, and I have my own ideas too of stuff I would love to do. We'll see. I just like to kind of live in the moment, and right now I really love co-writing with Bo. It's really, he didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to co-write with me. And the fact that he enjoys doing it with me, it means a lot to me. And the funniest thing is, like, he knows he inspires me, but the cool thing now is, like, I know I inspire him, and that means a lot to me. So it's really fun to co-write together and have that safety net of, I know at the end of the day it's going to be fine, because even if I screw up really, really badly, well, Bo is there to make it okay anyway. So right now I just love writing with Bo anyway. We have such a blast that I'd rather just keep doing that anyway. But if the opportunity came up to write by myself or write with other writers, I think I'm gaining confidence to do that. Yeah, so it'd be cool.
Next question.
Hello, you're playing Doc Holliday, who's quite a famous historical figure who's been played multiple times by multiple actors. Val Kilmer. Are you inspired by that, or do you try to avoid that type of those influences?
It's I knew exactly who Doc Holliday was when I got this part. It's one of those weird things, like the world is so small and everything kind of happens for a reason. I was obsessed with Doc Holliday since I'm pretty young, and I couldn't figure out really why, but now it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I saw Tombstone 100 times. I loved that movie. Val Kilmer was Amir Huckleberry. He was my favorite, and I really liked Dennis Quaid did one in Wyatt Earp. I loved him too. So it's like I went from being so excited when I got this part to, like, honestly sheer panic of, like, oh my god, I can't live up to what everyone has already done. This is such an iconic character. I can only destroy. People are going to hate me. And I was already on a show where people hated me called Lost Girl, the Massimo character. So I was like, I don't want to be hated again. So the one thing I wanted to do was make sure I didn't watch those performances again. Because as awesome as I thought they were, I didn't want to do their performance in any way again. And in a lot of ways, secretly, I knew I could do a really good version of Doc anyway. I knew I had this version that I wanted to play anyway. So I was definitely aware of them, but I tried to stay away from them as much as possible. And the good thing is as great as Val Kilmer was, his mustache is nowhere near as big as Doc Holliday's mustache was in real life. That was like the first thing I learned when I'm like, I got the part, amazing, and I literally thought Val Kilmer. But then when I started looking up pictures, I'm like, I gotta start growing this mustache now. So it took me like 4 months to grow that mustache. Yeah.
Next question at the front.
Hi. I'm just wondering what it was like working on Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Schitt's Creek, it's funny because I spend the whole year, I go from Winona to the creek and then creek to Winona, so pretty much all year I have facial hair. There's like 2 weeks a year where I have no facial hair. But Winona is more of a goofy set than Schitt's Creek. And you'd think it would be the opposite, but it's not. The thing I learned the most about comedies is that a lot of the comedians themselves are also very serious. And they take the craft of comedy really serious. I'm not a great comedic actor. I guess I can be funny from time to time, but it's never on purpose. So I guess that makes things funnier sometimes, but it's never on purpose. Where these guys are very aware of when they're funny and how to be funny. And I can watch Catherine and Eugene, this is Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, talk about a scene and dissecting it. It's like watching two chess players, honestly. Just the way they talk about dissecting a scene and breaking it down, and Eugene will say something as simple as, Catherine, you should really hit the there when you're saying it. Just in the way they say the words, and she will, and it's funny. They just understand comedy in a way that I just never will. So sometimes it's more serious, and then the stuff we film is kind of funny, Whereas Winona is kind of more serious, but everyone's just complete goofballs running around. Maybe it's because on the Winona set people have no heads and we all have guns and...
Next question in the middle.
Hi, as a comic book fan, what's been your favorite comic adaptation, and what would you like to see adapted into a show or a movie?
Yeah, awesome. You're going to get me in big trouble for this because right now I kind of work for IDW. But there's a book from Image Comics called Lazarus. And if no one's ever heard of that book, it's a really kick-ass book. Oddly enough, it's a strong female character again as the lead. I just seem to be drawn to this for some reason. And I would love to see it. It's a dystopian future kind of book. Or I don't know if anybody has ever heard of a book called Saga. If you're comic book fans right now, that's a really big book. That, of course, that universe is so huge. The tough thing about a lot of these comic books is, like I said, is like in the comic book universe, there's no budget. So you can kind of create whatever you want. And then when you try to make these things into shows, you got to cut back on a lot of the stuff because budget-wise, it's just not going to happen. Like for Winona Earp, luckily we try and do most of it about the relationships between the characters because in the comic book, there's yetis and werewolves and vampires and demons and like Winona, we have one demon, maybe a Spider-Man lady person. We can't afford 17 werewolves, and it's just not going to happen. So, but yeah, the book called Lazarus. It's a great book.
Next question's down the front, on the left.
Hi. If there was ever a body swap episode, what character would you swap with and why?
Bobo Del Rey. I would love to be Bobo. It seems to be, like, I don't want to say the bad character, but they just have the most fun. Well, the fun thing about Winona is even the good ones are kind of, Winona still gets in enough trouble that she'd be fun to be Winona, too. And it'd be great to be Waverly, but I'm not as talented as Dominique Provost-Chocly. I can't sing, dance, shoot shotguns, and kiss with all the passion of a meteor hitting the earth. So, probably Bobo. I want a mohawk too. It'd be great to be, I have to walk around with a mustache 10 months a year for a job, but he gets to walk around with a mohawk, which is pretty awesome. Plus Bobo's coat is like the sickest thing ever. And it's always kind of fun to play the bad guy parts. So I would love a body swap. I would have really loved, not for spoiler alert, but Season 2, some people kind of were affected by something and we saw a different side of those people. I'd love to be still in Doc, but maybe be affected by that same thing and we'd see a really, really evil Doc. Or the opposite, a really, really good Doc.
Next question in the middle.
Just wondering, I was reading that you were learning to twirl a gun before Doc Holliday, and then when you got on the set, they said, no, we don't do that kind of stuff. I was wondering whether, I only saw the first series, haven't seen the second yet. Did they let you do more of that in the second, or are they going to let you do more of that in the third, or is it still going to be, we don't do that kind of thing?
I kind of snuck it in the second one. I snuck it in where I could a little, just because it looks cool. And I got really good at it. So, but like, where we shoot in northern Alberta is kind of like, they're cowboys. It's a cowboy town. So they're, tough and gruff dudes and all. You don't spin those guns, son. So I don't spin the guns. I say, yes, sir. No problem. But I got really deadly with that pistol, if I'm being honest. I practiced a lot with the Colt Lightning. But it was important for me to get really good with the gun, because, that's what Doc is known for, is one of the best gunslingers in the West. Unfortunately, if you watch the show, my bullets are useless and I really can't kill anything. But the show is called Winona Earp, so I get it. She's going to save the day most of the time. But it'd be nice once in a while to shoot something. But I do have a great moment come in Season 2 where my bullets finally work. And do they ever work? Because she has the magic gun that can kind of kill the demons. I can definitely hit everything and slow them down, but my bullets really don't. They're not the death blows. But it was important for me to get really good with that gun.
Yeah, I just had a question. Like at the start of the series, you know, Doc Holliday is kind of like an anti-hero almost, you know, he's bent on revenge, and then like kind of as the series goes on, his relationship kind of closens to Waverly and Winona and that. But yeah, you start off with, you know, your black hat, which you end up losing. Like, do you reckon if you get a new hat, you reckon it'll be maybe a lighter colour to kind of show the change in your character, or you reckon another black one?
I think you should keep watching, and we might see what happens. I missed the first hat. The cool thing about those hats too is they were actually custom made for my head, which was kind of awesome. And inside they say property of Doc Holliday, and just to know that they custom made these hats for me, it meant a lot. And without saying too much, but those moments in season 2 where you kind of see me go for my hat and it's not there, those weren't scripted. It just, I was so, you know, used to it, and it wasn't there. So you always have these moments of me like going to tip my hat to the lady, and it's not there, and I'm like, not having the hat kind of sucked. Because there's something about that character, just getting into that costume every day. Like, I have the mustache permanently, but the mustache in real life, I just feel like an ultra hipster. You know, but then you get me on set, and it's like I have the same routine. I put my clothes on and my boots, and then I put that big long jacket on, and then I put my gun belt on, and then I put the hat on. And then as soon as that hat comes down tight, I'm Doc Holliday. I'm ready to go. Without it, I don't even think I can do the accent. So then it was like a couple episodes there I was hatless. It was tough. It was tough. I was happy to get a hat back.
Hi. If IDW offered you your own comic book series, what genre would you write for?
That's a good question. I really love the Western thing. I really love The Gunslinger by Stephen King. The movie didn't really do it for me, but the book did. And I would, just the first kind of 20 pages of The Gunslinger, I would go for something like that. Just a lone kind of warrior, whatever character, man or woman it would be, just kind of a lone. I love the lone wolf, vulnerable, wounded character, and I would love to create something like that with a vendetta, and kind of live on the line of good and bad gray area. Just some sort of wounded character that's trying to make amends, more for something they've done in their past, and you know, then as the book would go along, the story would go along, I would untie the history and story of why we got to where the character is. Because I really love those stories with people where you're like, you think they're one way, but it's like we all have our own stories. That's the thing, right? It's like you shouldn't really judge anybody because you don't know where they've walked in their shoes. But I love those stories where we find out we think they're one thing, but then when we follow the steps backwards, you see how they got to that point, and you're actually, you know, you're more drawn to that character. So something like that.
Go ahead, next question.
So in terms of before, when you were talking about Bogo being like one of your favorite characters, he's obviously very complex. In the thing that happened where the characters ended up in that situation, we're talking about risking spoilers here. Which Bogo do you prefer in terms of
Working with, or
like just in portrayal, like you were just talking about how, you know, characters.
yeah, and I thought, like,
and
for me, I thought, I don't know about you watching it, but I thought it was great to go back and see where Bobo came from, and see, it was so nice to see that side of Bobo, which is great that none of our characters are just one-dimensional characters. It's kind of like, I talked about this before, but Mikey Eklund has this great way of explaining the bad guys, because Mikey always plays the bad guys, and I remember I was next to him when someone asked, what's it like playing a bad guy on TV, and he's like, well, the bad guy doesn't know he's bad. You know, what the bad guy's doing is he thinks is good. He thinks what Winona is doing is bad. And so it's kind of like that, and then it was nice to see where Bobo came from, and you're kind of like, ouch. You can't really understand where he got to the point of where he is. I'm sure there's other holes that we'll fill, but it's nice to see a different side of Bobo and see where he came from and try and understand, you know, how he got to become what he became. So
I'm just wondering what it's like, given that you attended so many conventions, you would have had so much experience, at least seeing people cosplaying before, and now what's it like seeing people cosplay as your character?
Yeah, that was something I don't think I can ever explain. You need to understand, honestly, that I was a fan of Comic-Cons, and I'm a fan first of this stuff. And I just luckily somehow became an actor and got to do this. When I was at San Diego, I almost cried of pure joy and happiness in the moment of, I was sitting there in San Diego, just the fact that I made it to San Diego Comic-Con, if you would have told me that years before, I never would have believed you. And I was sitting there signing a comic book that there was a picture of me drawn. My character, like my face is in the comic book. Not only that, but I co-wrote the comic book. And there's people in line dressed like me to meet me, to have me sign the comic book up. Guys, we're all going to turn to dust and worms, not to be depressing, but someone just go up on my behalf and say, that kid was good. Like, I'm happy. It's not going to get better than that. Like, life fulfilled in every way. I never would have believed that moment would happen. And it almost made me cry of pure joy, honestly. And I remember the first cosplay we ever saw was a Waverly. And Dominique just grabbed my leg and tugged it, and I was like, what is happening? And then I saw, and I understood, and I saw how much it meant to her, and it was really special. Yeah.
Next question in the middle.
Hey,
Hi.
so I know you said that you didn't like playing, or you didn't like that nobody liked your character on Lost Girl, but I just want to know if you had fun playing that character.
Yeah.
That character had so much depth, and just watching him like mentally kind of disintegrate over the few episodes. I just wanted to know if that's fun.
I actually loved playing Massimo. And, well, kind of like, the best thing about Massimo is you need to understand, like, I was like a guest star, so I didn't know how much I was around for, or they don't give me too much information. So I kind of showed up in the beginning, and then they killed me. So I was like, all right, that was cool, see you later. And then I got a call the next year saying, hey, so here's your dates for Lost Girl. And I was like, I'm coming back to Lost Girl? Like, so then I was super excited. And then, every time I kind of died, I came back more and more crazier. So I really like playing crazy people. So I think I have something knocked loose in there. So it's pretty fun to get to explore those things and have fun with, like, I felt for Massimo. I understood why he was hated the hardest part for me on that set was as an actor. It wasn't as Massimo, it was as an actor, because Hale, that was the end of his job. That's what I kept thinking in my brain, like, you know what I mean? But I'm sorry, I'm killing you. It's not my fault. I just, they wrote the thing, I show up, and I'm the guy with the thing. They take their revenge. But I really liked playing Massimo. I felt for him, especially because I didn't know how much development there was going to be, but by the end of it, he had a great development story, and he just wanted to be loved by his mom in the end, and that's all he was looking for, was some sort of validation that he never got. So yeah, I felt bad for him. And they also gave me like some pretty crazy paisley shirts that guy had to wear. I don't know if you noticed his wardrobe, but I would show up to my trailer and I'd open the closet, what is this? But I wore whatever they put in there, and that was it. But he had some crazy fashion sense, that guy.
Next question at the back.
Were there any pranks on set that you guys did or like had done to you?
Yeah, there's literally daily pranks. We're pretty big goofballs. I've definitely might have hid Shamir's shoes on him more than once. Dominique and I are pretty big goofballs together. But listen, at the end of the day, it's a set, and we try to be serious as possible, especially when they say action. And there's a lot of people working a lot harder than us, if you ask me, in my opinion. The crew are some of the hardest working people around. So, but they're kind of goofballs too. You kind of gauge it if people are goofy or not goofy. But there's a lot. I'll say this: Melanie Scrofano will blow my mind daily with the things that come out of her mouth. She has zero filter. and there's some crazy stuff that comes out of her mouth from time to time that I'm just like, did you just say that?
So you've made a little documentary before,
Yes.
Shuckers, which by all means, please let them know what Shuckers is all about. But is directing something you'd like to do more of?
No, never. Ever would I like to direct. I do know that Kat Burrell, who plays Officer Hot, is very interested in being a director, and I would love to film some episodes of One on Earth where maybe Kat directs us, or Mel has also shown interest in that, or Emily, I heard, also would like to direct an episode. I would love to be directed by them, but I have zero desire to direct. I'm still trying to figure out what the DOP does. I know he's the director of photography and he figures out all the shadows and stuff, but I still don't understand what's happening. I don't understand we have this thing called crossing the axis. Now, it's been explained to me a mazillion times. I still don't understand it. Supposedly, the way they explain it to me is when you're shooting something, it's like everyone is on a stage, and you can never film from behind the stage showing the audience. So if we were filming this scene, we could shoot me this way, but we could never shoot this way, figuring this way. But then sometimes we do, so I don't understand. So there's so many technical things that I don't understand. Like, I just show up, have the mustache, hit the piece of tape, say some stuff, and try and sneak in a gun twirl. I'm good with that.
Get a question in the middle.
Just wondering how many hours a day you're spending on set when you're filming Winona?
Probably 14 hours, a couple of days of travel. It's like TV movie business is like 0 to 100. That's what it is. We literally do nothing, and then we do a million things, and like really quickly. The only thing that I would try and do myself, and I would recommend to anybody who wants to be an actor, is be prepared. I mean, you got to know your lines. You got to, like, I can't, like, I still work with some people. Sometimes you show up on set and they're not prepared, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of people who work really hard to get us to the moment, and then all we have to do is kind of be prepared and know your stuff, and then, because a lot of time you don't have a lot of time. And it's more of a testament to like how awesome like a Melanie is or Dominique was this season, because they had a lot more than say I did. So they have to be a lot mentally. It's draining to just always be on and learning your stuff, and then you go and you do it and it's over. For me personally, I never try and imagine how I think a scene will be, because it never is whatever you think in your brain. So I used to do that and think, oh, I think they're going to shoot it like this, or they're going to do it like this, and then I would go and it wasn't like that, and it kind of threw me for a loop. So whereas now I'm just so ready to be played, like I'm ready to play. I'm like a piece of clay, and I'm just like, okay, let's see this and see what we're going to do and find the moments. And for me, I just try and be as prepared as possible.
Got a question at the back.
Hey, so what would be your favorite genre to act in?
I'm pretty much doing it right now. I love sci-fi. Like I've always loved sci-fi stuff, and then to be on a sci-fi western, like I said this yesterday, like there was no way I wasn't going to be in the running for this part. I just knew I was going to do a really, really good job, because I really, really, really wanted this part. Like I put that in the universe really hard. Like, this needs to happen. I need to get this part. I want to be Doc Holliday. It has to happen. And I put that in from the minute I got the very first script. I had to have it. It was going to happen. And that's because I love this genre, and I wanted to be a part of it so badly.
Is there any other shows that are currently on that you would love to be a part of?
There's a little show, but I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It's called Game of Thrones. That would be pretty awesome.
Who would you play?
Can I be one of the dragons? Anybody. They could cut my head off. I don't care. It's Game of Thrones. Yeah, Game of Thrones would be awesome. There's a lot of shows that I kind of like. I would love to be on Killjoys. Killjoys would be cool. I just watched a show on the airplane over here called Roadies. It's a Cameron Crowe show. I like old school rock and roll too, so, and I feel like my mustache would play. Because don't forget, whatever part I'm playing, they're going to have to accept a mustache in one way or another, because it's kind of like, the other thing is like, when we rap, all the other actors go on to do other movies and stuff. Well, I can't, because I need to grow a mustache. So for 4 months before we start filming, I'm the first one who gets the call, because I need to start growing a mustache. And you can't really do another movie while you're growing a mustache. So whatever part it would be, it'd have to be mustache related.
So something set in the 70s or something.
Yeah. But I can see that in a 70s rock and roll TV show like Roadies.
So you said that Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc has really influenced your opinion of it and everything. How would you compare your portrayal of the character to his?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't dare. Like I said, I wanted to do my own portrayal of the character. I wanted to do it justice. And it sounds cliche to say, but that character lived inside me. I was so ready to do this part. There was never a doubt. I never doubted myself. And sometimes as an actor, we have doubts. You know, it's one of those hurdles that you're always going to doubt yourself before doing something. And to have the confidence to go into doing this part with zero doubt was actually really liberating. I couldn't wait to get in the room. You know, like some of these rooms, these audition rooms, you have to understand they're very threatening, you know? It's like, it's hard not to be nervous or shy or scared, and you know, you're just being judged. That's what you're doing. You're being judged by people. So for this part, I was literally like, everybody get out of my way. I need to get in this room. Give me the biggest room possible. I need to do this part. I'm like, and I'm normally not like that. I'm normally like, oh God, here we go. All right, gotta suck it up. We gotta do a good job in this room, man, and so we gotta do it. But for this part, I was just ready. I was really, really ready. I really wanted to do it. I really loved this character.
So other than growing your mustache for 4 months, how else do you prepare for the role of Doc Holliday?
When I first got the part, it's like I said, I ordered the replica, the Cold Thunderer gun, because that was his pistol, and it was really important for me to kind of get as comfortable as possible with the gun. And the cool thing is when production called me, they said, hey, so what are you looking for in Doc? What do you think we need to take care of? And I said, listen, like, you know, he had a Cold Thunderer pistol. Like, it'd be really awesome if we could get something close to that. And they got me the exact same gun that Doc used. So that was great. And, like, the gun belt I wear is in the same style that he wore his belt. And then they got the hat custom made for me. The only hard part for playing Doc Holliday is smoking all those cigarillos, because I do not smoke. And, like, when we do a scene, you're seeing one take of it. We probably did 20 of it. And it's like 7 in the morning, and I'm sucking on cigarillos. It's tough. But I mean, Doc Holliday smoked, so I do what I do what I gotta do. It's hard to prepare too much, you know, because like I said, I just felt like the character was inside me, so I was kind of ready to do it.
So gun twirling's a pretty unique skill to learn for a role. Have you had to learn anything else interesting?
I've got to do so many amazing things because of this job. Like, I've driven cars that I'll never drive in real life, you know, like Ferraris and all that stuff. I'll never do. I do remember the most terrifying experience I ever had was I will never ever scuba in my life. I did a pilot. A pilot is a TV show that we do, and then you hope that it gets picked up. A lot of them don't get picked up and they never become shows, but sometimes we do a lot of shows that try and get picked up. And I did one of these shows that didn't get picked up. And it was kind of like Charmed meets The Sopranos. It was like 2 rival gangster houses with witches involved. And the scene we did was, I was on a golf course with one of the rival family members, and he clubs me over the head with a golf club, and I fall into this pond, and he takes these crystals, throws it in the pond freezes over, and I drown trapped in the pond. So the first day we filmed that scene, no problem. We're on a golf course in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was cool. It was cold, but it wasn't the worst, and it was Bill Paxton in the scene with me. And he cranks me in the head with the golf club, but we pretend that, you know, so that's no problem. And I fall into a pond, kind of sucked. But it was a pond, you know, it wasn't that deep, and it was kind of cold, but not the worst. But then the next day, we went to film the rest of the scene. We went to a university where they had a scuba diving pool, and I don't know if you know what these things are, but they're like not wide, like 20 feet wide, but they're like 200 feet deep of pure salt water. And what they did was they covered it with plexiglass, that was going to be the ice, and they built all these little fake bushes on it and stuff. And then I had to go into the pool, and there was a scuba guy about 15 feet deep hiding, so he was out of the range of the camera. And I would go down to him, wait with the scuba gear until I could hear they had a speaker in this pool that said action. Then I came up, banged on the ice, died, waited for them to say cut, and then panicked trying to find the scuba guy to get my air again, to keep doing the scenes because I couldn't leave the pool. And like the thing they don't tell you about scuba is like when you go to get air again, the first thing you have to do is exhale, or you'll get some sort of bubble that kills you in your heart, or whatever the hell scary thing it is they tell you. But let me tell you, the one thing you want to do after not having air is inhale. So it's like, it was a super scary thing, but I still wanted to be good in the scene, so I was like super scared and I hated doing it. But then they said action and I was still like, and then as soon as they said cut, I panicked and tried to find the guy and remember, blow, 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 don't inhale. And this director made me do it seriously like 22 times. So I will never ever scuba dive again. So that was like a sucky thing, but I've done great fun stuff too.
Hey Tim.
Hi.
What's one of the most awesome fan experiences you've had?
I've had so many, honestly, and especially with Winona Earp and this fandom. You know, just recently in London at EarperCon, there was a young girl there, 15 years old, who just came out to her father about 5 months before, and she was, you know, super nervous and super scared to come out, and she thought, you know, she didn't know what to think. She thought her dad would be angry and everything. She came out to her father, and he came with her to EarperCon as her birthday gift to show her how much he supported her no matter what, and he knew what our fandom was, and the fact they were there together. Like, I was puddles, and you know, in this fandom, you realize, like, yeah, we made a little TV show about kind of, you know, cowboys and demons and stuff, but that's not what it's about. And that there's an underlying power to this show of this fandom is something bigger than the show will ever be. And I feel honored to be a part of that fandom, more than the fandom is kind of like, oh, we love this show, but for us, I love what this fandom has kind of done for people, and I'm inspired by the fandom a lot, daily. There was also, in Dragon Con, there was a guy, you know, a young guy, 18 years old, who told me that, because we live tweet every Friday, and every Friday night he used to live tweet with us with his dad, and his dad passed away. And he said for season 2, the only thing that made, you know, it not so sad was Friday night. And he said he watched every Friday night, and he said, my dad had a mustache, and I watched you every night. And I'm like, the guy's telling me this, I'm dying inside. Like, how do you not want to die? So, yeah, like, it's the things you guys say to me daily, or, you know, you bring me, like, these amazing gifts that are meaningful. Not just gifts, but, like, meaningful gifts that you know mean something. It's wonderful. It's really special.
Hey, Tim.
Hi.
If you had the chance to work with any other actor on set, who would it be?
Wow, there's so many that I would love to work with. There was one that was actually staying in my building at the same time, an actor by the name of Jeffrey Wright. I don't know if anybody knows, maybe from Westworld you would know him, but he did a film called Basquiat. He played Jean-Michel Basquiat, this artist, back in the day. I would love to work with him, but there's also just so many. Famke Patent, I really love her. Run Lola Run was a movie that I've seen a bazillion times. I would love to work with her. But then at the same time, it's like, you never know who's going to inspire you, you know? We've had guest stars in smaller roles on this show that just blew me away. So, I don't know, I'm always ready to just kind of see who's ready to play. I kind of know right away when I meet an actor on set, even in the first couple of moments of meeting each other, what kind of actor they are and what kind of reasons they have for wanting to be an actor. And like, for me, I'm a theater kid. So to do TV actually is kind of selling out. You know, but then you have other actors who just kind of want to be famous. And then you can kind of tell that's why they're in it. And you know what, honestly, doing scenes with them, it's not that fun. Whereas doing scenes with people who love this and just want to play, I can tell right away. I just know right away. And it comes from all levels of whatever you want to say, of fame actors I've worked with. There's some that are always want to play, and there's some that have other reasons. But for me, if you want to play and you love what you're doing, we're going to have a great time together.
We have time for one last question. DC or Marvel?
That's tough. But I'll have to say Marvel, because I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan. Silver Surfer is my all-time favorite, and he's Marvel, so Marvel.
Good answer. It's twice this panel where you've been at risk of annoying 50% of the audience.
What was the first one, the Vegemite?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Alrighty, unfortunately that's all we have time for. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please say a big thank you to Tim?
Hey, thank you guys so much for coming out these past 2 days. You really made me feel welcomed and special, so thank you very much. All of you guys, everybody. P.S. We never got our appetizers at dinner. I don't know if anybody noticed that for us dinner people. We never got appetizers. Okay, ciao.
Alrighty guys, next up we have Michael Malarkey. For the meantime, we'll just keep the front row for a platinum ticket.